Welcome to the Progtalks by the Prog Space. Welcome to the Progtalks, an interview series by the Prog Space where we will be talking to musicians in all corners of the progressive music scene. Welcome back to the Prog Talks. Once again with me, I'm Rune, Uncle Prog, and I have my trusty co-host here, Dario Albrecht, who is joining me for this special end of the year episode, I think we're going to call it, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, where we do a little summary of the interviews we've been doing this year, the albums we've been enjoying this year, and towards the end, there's going to be a little teaser of what we're looking forward to in 2022, right?
Absolutely. There's been a whole lot of releases this year. It's been incredible. Well, for the releases of the week alone, for those of you out there who hopefully follow the Prog Space online, we were doing the releases of the week series on Fridays, and the total count of releases that we featured in these lists is well over 1,000. So it's been an incredible year for music. And we also already have some confirmed album releases for next year, of course, that we're very much looking forward to. But first, it's a little bit time to reminisce and to look back what we have done this year.
Yes, I think so. And of course, also quickly mention, we have this buy us a coffee link, where you can support us by buying us a coffee.
For the Christmas episode, I felt free to get myself.
I think you're good with that for the Christmas episode. I'm still having my cup of tea here, and any supports, any likes, and subscribe if you like the work we've been doing. We very much appreciate that. So, well, I think we should get into it. Favorite interview moments. Should I go on with my first one?
Yeah, start right away.
There's been, I'm going to preface this by saying there's been so many fantastic interviews during the year, which I've really enjoyed. So many great musicians. And I'm going to start by mentioning my first ever interview for the Progtalks, which was with Paul Sadler from the UK, and more specifically about his solo album that he had just released. Of course, we also talked about, there we go, as the soon to be Absorbed, which I think it was released in January, right? And
doesn't say usually on the back, but I think so, yes.
But it was very early in the year he released his album, and it's a fantastic album. And also, of course, Paul is also the frontman and the singer and guitarist of progressive death metal band Spires. And we got a little bit of a hint that Spires might be moving again, and there might be some more music. So hopefully 2022 will show us a bit about that. So Paul Sadler, that's my first mention. What about you, Dario?
Yeah, just a little a fact check here on the side. Soon to be Absorbed. At least it dropped on Spotify already in December 1st last year.
Yes, you're right. So so that was a 2020 album towards the end of 2020, right?
Yeah. Well, my first mention would go to Alex Pilkiewicz from Poland, and he sent me this lovely T-shirt. And it was just such a fun talk with this guy, and the stories that he told about him, like after the photo shoot for the EP, That Way Lies Madness, where he was in the woods with his girlfriend, who is a fantastic photographer, and she kept pushing him with like it was cold, but she kept like putting paint on him, and then when he went back home, like on the bike, and came out of the woods on his bike, covered in green paint and stuff, he like scared an old lady. That was such a funny story. And also like just him telling us a little bit about his upbringing, his musical upbringing, and he, like when he was 9 or something, he just started recording an album every week on his cassette recorder with his acoustic guitar. And once he realized that albums are meant to be released, he released them on the torrent sites where he discovered all the other albums back then. Yeah, that was just great fun to talk to him, and absolutely stellar release also with his new EP, That Way Lies Madness.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You played one of his tracks on the latest Prog Files radio show, and I have to say, I really, really enjoyed his music. Yeah. For my second one, I'm gonna say, one of my idols, the fantastic Mathias Olsson, from mostly known from Englagård, of course, but the man has, so many irons in the fire, I guess we're gonna say. Yeah, it's very hard to keep track of everything he's doing. During the interview, of course, we talked a lot about the recently released Cathedral album that he did with Tom Doncourt of the 70s prog band Cathedral, which was sort of made even more, special by the fact that Tom had recently passed away, and that Mathias had finished the album with the blessings from Tom's family. So It was a very interesting interview, and we went deep into, the guy has done everything from the revival of prog, 70s style prog in the 90s, to like commercial success with his indie rock band Pine Forest Crunch later in the 90s, to alternative music and soundscapes, and his special project with Moles is like Molesome, and there's just no end to the genius of Mathias Olsson. So
to his creativity.
Exactly.
Just a little disclaimer here. I think Cathedral is not the British doom metal band, right?
you are very much right. We're talking about American band Cathedral that released Stained Glass Horizons in 1976, I believe, which is sort of a hidden gem of American prog. And Tom, who was the main sort of songwriter and one of the main performers in the band, got in touch with Mathias. And also, I think when you listen to that early Cathedral album, you sort of discover a little bit of where Englagård got some of their inspirations, like that spooky mellotron and everything. So it was a very interesting interview, and I highly enjoyed talking to Mathias. What about you? What's next?
Next up, we have it was the following episode after episode 33 with Alex Pilkovich. Episode 34, I had all three guys of Ash Breather calling from their band house, what I now in my mind only call the Prog couch. So that was McKay, Charles, and of course my buddy Colin, with whom I've been working a lot this year, as he without his work, I wouldn't have been able to maintain the output of both the releases of the week lists and also the Monday What's Hot playlists. So it was great to a little bit get to know his band buddies a little bit more, and also was really cool to talk about their new EP, Out My Eye, which is a really cool thing. And then they've done a big step up from their self-titled debut album last year. So I was really happy to talk to them, and it was just a very, very cool talk. And I sure hope I can visit them someday in their band house in Montreal in Canada.
or that they will get the chance to come over to Europe to perform for us. That would be very fun to
both. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for my third and final highlight, well, I feel like I could go on all night with these, but because every episode had something special. But when you have to choose, you have to choose. And for my third one, I picked my interview with Toby Driver of KO. Modeling of the Well, Blood Mist, Allura Crucible. Like Matthias Olsson, a very prolific musician that does so many things in so many different genres. Of course, we especially talked about the new KO. Album, which of course is one of my favorite albums of the year that we'll come back to later. And the fact that the guy sort of returned a little bit to the origins of his sound with the reimagining of the sound of Modeling of the Well, rediscovery of the European metal scene by him actually touring over here as a bassist for Myrkur, which I wasn't aware of.
Wow.
how we got that name, Yeah, he was asked to become a touring musician, and that was a big part of him sort of rediscovering the European metal scene. And he said, it's very vibrant, it's still going on, and it inspired him to take KO. In yet another new direction. So yeah. And also, of course, like in all of my interviews, we sometimes go to the darker side of life. And he talked a little bit about how, the canceled KO. Tour in early 2020 and how he sort of lost a bit of hope and yeah, the problems that so many musicians have talked about considering COVID and this pandemic that we are still, a part of our daily lives to this day. So yeah, Toby Driver, KO. Modeling of the Well.
Yeah. I have to say a quick word about KO. and Modeling of the Well, because I heard so many things over the last year that they're like so revered, like hugely revered underground legends. But I have to admit that I never really took time to dive into their discography, and now having discovered KO. With the newest, let me see if I can remember it. Musk grew over plows and swords alike.
The moss grew on swords and plowshares alike. I believe.
Yeah. Almost, almost got it there. Anyway, it was a brilliant experience. The atmosphere is really unique and breathtaking. So I'm definitely looking forward to another discography adventure.
Yeah, I think that's. Whatever which way you go with his music and his side projects as well, you're gonna find brilliance there. So yeah. And then back to you for your final pick.
Yeah, my final pick, actually, that's gonna be new for you as well, because you haven't heard the episode either yet. Because as we record this episode, the ultimate episode is not out yet. Episode 36 with Rasmus Rivsbech from Franklin Zoo from Denmark, which was a very, very special talk. He was the circumstances were a little bit adverse because he was isolating with his two boys who have been taken ill to COVID in the little shed of the family, which is just like 20 square meters somewhere far away from everything. So he had to go outside, and he just had like a light. Like a candle or something as a light, and of course the audio was also a little bit tricky, but I hope you guys will understand what he's saying, because it was an amazing talk, about everything, like about grunge, which is. For anyone who knows me like a little bit, you will know that I'm not the biggest grunge fan, but it was still amazing to talk about grunge with Rasmus and about music in general. And finally, what was like a really funny moment was when I placed my last question. He was like totally surprised how well I was putting my finger in the wound, so to speak, because I was asking him whether he would categorize or put the sound of Franklin Zoo more into a rock or metal drawer, so to speak. And he said, yeah, that's the thing for a lot of booking agents that they try to get onto and booked by they're either too heavy or not heavy enough. But yeah, their new album, The Dandelion Child, is really amazing. I've been really enjoying this discovery. As I said in the Rise and Shine mini review, it's definitely one of my favorite discoveries of this year, and a great band. And I hope they will find some help within the industry with the management and the booking agency soon. And then once live concerts are a thing again, then they can go out there and play their really cool music.
Yeah, I agree. That was also one of the bands you picked for that latest Prog Files episode, which sort of introduced me to them. And I of course, I listened to it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I don't find it very strange that you guys talked about grunge, because they do have this sort of alternative grungy side to them, which is of course interesting, because that's not what you hear most in prog, at least. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's always, yeah. And going from our favorite interview moments to our favorite, what should we call it, not only independent but like small up and coming or obscure bands that deserve to be listened to more is probably I think that leads me straight into one of my picks, because I have a band that also has I would say prog combined with alternative rock or indie rock, or I don't know how to put it, but it's this Australian band that I discovered towards the end of the year called Beautiful Bedlam. And they released their album on May 1st. For me, I didn't really discover them until late in the year when I sort of played them on my radio show. And I have to say this, I don't know a lot about the band. I know they're Australian. I know they hail from Melbourne, I believe. But outside of that, I only know, the sounds I've taken in from their fantastic debut album. And it's very varied. It's very, I would say untypical of a lot of modern prog. Has quite a strong indie or alternative side to it. I would say, closer to something like Carnival than Dream Theater, to put it that way. At times I get strong Fair to Midland vibes from their music, and it's also sometimes quite silly, which I sort of enjoy, which is also an outlier for prog, which has a tendency to take itself very seriously. So Beautiful Bedlam from Australia with their self-titled debut album. That's my first pick for a band you may not have heard about, but you should listen to.
Yeah, if they from Melbourne, indeed, we should ask our friends of Acolyte. Maybe they know about them.
Probably part of the same scheme. It might be a thing. Yeah. What about you? What's your first pick for this category?
I mean, Acolyte also have put out an amazing album with Entropy this year, and we were very happy to feature them on our Prog Space Online Festival. But my first pick is also from Australia, and you might have not heard of them. I mean, I'm talking to the listeners now. You, Rune, of course, you might have heard about them, because I was already raving about their previous EP last year, but this year they have put out another EP, and the band I'm talking about is called BAK, B-A-K, and they are very, very unique. Their new EP is called Crater, and well, their mix is so unique that I have that I wouldn't know any other band that who would mix, really old school metal, like Sabotage or these kind of guitars and pitched high scream vocals with Indian classical music like Konakol and all these Indian influences. So it's very, very unique. It's super groovy and psychedelic, and but it's decidedly metal, and it also has this from the production side, it has a little bit of this old school metal feeling, which is very, very rare nowadays, of course, when everyone is using probably their neural DSP plugins to at home, and they all sound the same or whatever. This is very, very, very unique stuff, and I do think they really, really deserve more attention. I have no idea if they've ever played live or if it's only a studio project. I remember I think this third EP overall, and I discovered them with their second last year. And back then it was like all very, very mysterious, and the band bio was very, very funny, made up stuff about an entity, a godlike entity and everything. And they also had very, very cool music videos that looked like video games, like CGI animated video games, and it was like very, very obscure and rare, but very, very cool.
Yeah, and I haven't listened to the new album, but I remember you pushing last year for the original release, and I have to say it's refreshingly unique. I think it's a way to put it. So that's a good pick. I'm gonna go to something as well that's a bit outside of the box, namely Canadian chamber folk trio Musk. Yeah, which released, I do believe it's their third full-length album called Inheritance in July of this year. And of course, I was lucky enough to interview Nathaniel and Raphael. Raphael, of course, known from his cello work with Lepros and so many other artists. But this project of theirs is like, what can I say? It's dark, melancholic chamber folk with a lot of progressive tendencies. There are very long tracks. It's very, cinematic. The acoustic guitar, the violin, the cello. It's just they build layers upon layers, and fantastic melodies, fantastic songwriting. In general, just a fantastic album that I've been listening much more to than I even realized, in a way. That's the kind of music that you put on when you sort of need something to calm you down or to put you in a nice mood, and the album is just absolutely fantastic. So Muskox with Inheritance, that's my second pick, and I believe that's also a self-release from them. Yeah,
a great pick. And being a cellist myself and growing up with chamber music as well, of course I have a special place in my heart for that. That reminded me of another EP that I didn't hear anything anywhere talked about in prog circles, but of course the artist is more in post-metal or post-rock circles known. A. Williams put out a heartbreakingly brilliant EP with arrangements, with string arrangements from some of her songs, and that is just beautiful. Like the title of the EP is Arco, which is Latin for stringed or bowed, actually bowed. Yeah.
Very fitting.
I'm gonna go back to my classical roots later for my third pick, but my second pick I wanted to go a little bit on the globe. When you're in Australia, you go straight up to the probably not straight, but more or less in that vague direction.
On the other side of the world somewhere.
Yeah, you might end up in Korea, and there's a very, very talented musician. Now, what's his name? Ri Dongju, I believe, and his Dongju Lee, sorry, and his here I wrote it down, and his artist name, or the name of the project where he puts out music, is called Lion's Den. And we received a promo mail from him or his management back in May for a new 15-minute single release called Ekayana II. So because we don't really review singles, but I was really, really intrigued by his amazing playing and really cool style. I went back and saw that he had already put out an EP called Ekayana I back in February, also self-released, and it was kind of an unexpected revelation for me, because there is this modern fusion guitar vibe there for sure, but there's also the classical influences. There's a lot of electronic influences as well, and some folk influences as well. So it's a very, very, very eclectic and diverse affair. A lot of jazz fusion at the base, maybe, but yeah, going in all kinds of direction. And at the very end of the Ekayana I EP, the last track is even an arrangement of a Bach piece, and funnily enough, one of my favorite Bach pieces, like Johann Sebastian Bach, I'm talking about. So there we also have the classical influence again, but that's not the main thing of Lion's Den. That's more the fusion and electronic style, maybe, which is very, very interesting. And looking at his Spotify monthly listeners, I really, really do believe people need to hear him. People need to check him out if they haven't heard of him, which is very likely. And but everyone who's enjoying modern fusion guitar stuff and eclectic prog, they definitely should check out this stellar instrumental release from Lion's Den.
sounds like an album that I need to re-listen to as well, and it's interesting, like you say, that it's a Korean artist or Korean band. I feel like we cover a lot of European, American, there's quite a lot of Australian and also South American bands, but like when it's come to Asian bands or African bands, we don't hear so much. And reminds me also about this Vietnamese band Haksan that I discovered this year, an amazing band that just came out of nowhere with their album. And so, there might be lots of good stuff to discover from these continents that we haven't, really, really looked into yet. Yeah. So who knows what 2022 will bring in that regard? There might be new fantastic musicians that we are exposed to. Well, I'm going to move on to my third and final pick for, the independent or smaller up and coming bands. And it's my longtime favorites of Head with Wings, this American band, released their fantastic debut album from Worry to Shame a few years ago. And now they are back with an EP called Comfort in Illusion, which was also released in the middle of July somewhere, if I remember correctly. And the band is, is one of those bands that still, I don't think they're in Prog archives, because apparently they fall between all the chairs, if that's a saying that you can put. But in my regard, just their approach to music, just the way they put together their output, it's just clear to me that this is a band that is progressive, or at least belongs on the record players of fans of progressive music. Absolutely. And and I absolutely loved the EP. Duncan, one of our writers at the Prog Space, wrote a fantastic review of it as well. and he touched upon something which is important, that the EP also, has 3 reimagined versions of the songs by Vikram Shankar, the keyboardist, the very talented keyboardist with several of his projects. Once again, a musician that does so many things, and these together with the instrumental versions of the tracks as well, it's almost like a full album package. And so if you haven't checked out Head with Wings and this release, I have to say, you go and listen to it, because it's a melancholic masterpiece.
Yeah, beautiful vocal harmonies. I'm definitely looking forward to listening again to it, because it's been a while.
And once again, someone I was lucky enough to interview, Josh from Headwood Beans for the Progtalks, which was also a lovely talk. So, if you are enjoying this interview, please head over to theprogspace.com for more reviews, articles, pictures and interviews, all about progressive music. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. theprogspace.com. Here, Dario's third pick.
My third and final pick. Well, we had an EP from Australia. We had an EP together with the single from Korea. And now from Korea, we're going like halfway in our direction. And we land in Siberia for some reason with a fantastic album called The Maze Within, from the project that is Pleximents. It's the progressive metal project of a classical guitarist, Evgeny Tsibulin. And that debut album was self-released back in April. And I also had the chance to talk to him back then on the Progcast still. And Evgeny is an amazingly talented classical guitarist. He plays with the local symphony orchestra there, if I remember correctly. But he loves progressive metal just as much. And so he put together this project. And the first encounter I had with it, maybe he sent us a promo email for his first single, which featured the very well-known session bass player Anton Davidians with this crazy bass solo as well and stuff. So of course that piqued my interest. And the amazing thing about The Maze Within is that, one of my pet peeves, if you say it like that, is that, as I said before, like with my classical background, a lot of times when classical music or orchestral music is incorporated in a rock or metal context, I find it to be extremely dull and boring and full of cliches and or kitsch. And so whenever it's done well and progressive and exciting and interesting, then I'm like my excitement is peaked. So that was definitely the case with Pleximents, because Evgen, he incorporates his classical guitar playing on the classical guitar as well as, of course, some flamenco influences, because I guess if you learn the classical guitar really, really right, you will also learn how to do the flamenco stuff. Exactly. And there's the fusion and jazz influences as well. There's and as for every great prog album, there's recurring motives and themes. And so the multi-part core song of the album is with the singer. and there's a couple of instrumental tracks at the beginning and the end. I do tend a little bit more towards the instrumental tracks, but that's not to say that the singer is bad or anything. But it's definitely a release that deserves more attention as well. From classic prog metal aficionados all the way until to people who enjoy technical guitar music, because it's just like the chops are also insanely off the charts.
Yeah, that's an album I did listen to, and I agree with you. That's a great pick and a great album. Yeah. So, of course, there were more well-known artists and bands that released albums this year as well, and we decided to mention a couple of them each, right? So, I'm just gonna go ahead with both of mine, really, because the first one we already sort of mentioned. So I will mention it in passing. Of course, K.O. Musk grew on swords and plowshares alike, fantastic album with more of a going back to a metal heritage of the band, even incorporating, his early bandmates in Modeling of the Well on this album. And so that's very high on my list when it comes to my favorite releases of the year, and that's released by Prophecy Production. I believe that's his. I think that's his first album on the label, which also tied into his sort of reconnecting with the European metal scene.
German label,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that has a hell of a lot of great bands and artists.
Yeah, they're mostly into more of the darker folk and black metal thingies. Like that's kind of their main audience. But yeah, great artists on that label.
They also have quite a few, like I would say, like type black gaze and avant-garde artists in this more weirder gothic scene, and so it's a good label, and I'm glad he's releasing on that label. Yeah,
I think Green Carnation used to be on there as well, and Dark Suns at one point as well. Disillusion, and really great underground label for darker stuff.
Yeah, and for my next pick, we're going to move to a label across the border in France, namely Season of Mist. And of course, one of my favorite bands ever, Cynic, released their album Ascension Codes, I believe it was called, at the end of November now. So much can be said about Cynic and this album. For someone like me who has been a fan since before their first album, Focus, I have to say that it's strange, since the passing of the two Seans, Sean Masvidal, Sean Reinert and Sean Malone, both sadly passing away.
Yeah,
and it was I think it was sort of what can I say, a strange thing for a lot of fans to see Paul Masvidal come back with a new album, and I think he made it just as similar but still dissimilar to the earlier Cynic stuff, that you can enjoy it without necessarily thinking, and comparing it to the output of the two Seans on earlier. And I think that's some of the brilliance of the album, replacing the bass with bass pedals and synths and stuff like that. And the album is just, an atmospheric masterpiece. And the more I listen to it, the more it grows on me. And, I don't know if this will be the swan song for Cynic or if anything more will happen. But if it is, then it is a fantastic note to go out on. So, I hope to be able to see Paul perform this music live, and I know I will see him do more music in some shape or form. But as for Cynic, this is this was a fantastic album and very worthy, follow up and a lovely memory, tribute to the two musicians who passed away. So
yes,
that's my two picks for the more well-known bands, KO. On one hand, Cynic on the other. Yeah. What about you, Dario? What are your
I thought you had didn't you have three as well here?
I have a third one. But sure, you do. I can mention the third one quickly because of course the third one is the Russian band Kawan, which is of course on like the periphery of prog again, but I would say that there is more than enough experimentation and adventure in their music to call them progressive, and they released their album Ice Fleet on the 9th of April on Artifact Records. And once again, a fantastic album, chock full of emotion, melancholy, atmosphere, and it came with a little role-playing game book where you can sort of get into the story that the album takes up. So it's like that's not something you see every day, and it's a very cool concept. Yeah.
Looking at your three picks here, I think one thing is clear that it's like all three of them are very, very atmospheric. Like I've listened to all of them, and I agree with you on all of them. There's this fantastic atmospheric stuff. Of course, far away from any noodling.
I enjoy some noodling, but this year wasn't the year for that for me. So more atmospheric for 2021 was.
Going on with atmospheric, of course. Your favorite, non-favorite Norwegians. It's not possible for me to not mention Leprous, even though I haven't listened to Aphelion in a while. When it came out, it did strike a nerve, and it reached deep into my heart, as did the previous records, as did Pitfalls, and it was both a continuation and also experimentation that went hand in hand, and they are getting all the success they deserve right now, I feel, and it's so sad to see that they had to their huge European tour condensed to like 5 or 10 gigs. I don't know. That was supposed to be a month. But at least they managed to do some gigs, and from what I've seen, those are not Aphelion gigs. Those are specifically anniversary gigs with the best offset, which is differently special. But from what I've seen, the concerts have been fantastic, and they've been sold out, and they've played the biggest venues they've ever played in their career, which is making me very, very happy. And I will have to go back to listen to Aphelion again now towards the end of the year, when forming my final opinions about some rankings. And now that I say it like this, it sounds like it's a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing, but it's stuff that I can relate to so much, and that it can be hard to listen to sometimes because of the emotional connection that I feel to the music and the lyrics and everything. Maybe that's the way to put it. Like when you, Rune, came up with you want to also maybe mention 2 or 3 a little bit bigger bands. I was looking through my long lists and almost had trouble finding bands that would fit that description, as opposed to like determining my 3 picks for underground bands, it was nearly impossible for me to decide.
It was very hard. Yeah.
In the end, I almost only went by like who has the least Spotify monthly listeners. There were like 10 or like more than 10 other releases in that would have deserved a mention, in my opinion. But I think a band you can agree with as well, who also deserve more attention, but they're already on a major metal label. That would be Fractal Universe with the Impassable Horizon that came out back in June on Metal Blade Records.
Absolutely.
What a fantastic band. They're so unique in their progressive death metal approach. I think it didn't quite surpass the previous album for me, but it's definitely up there, and I can't wait to see them live again. The first and one time so far that I've seen them live was opening for Obscura. At the very end of that huge tour, when Obscura had their homecoming, so to speak, in Landshut, north of Munich, in a relatively small club, which was totally packed, and I had the chance to talk to the guys in the tour bus before for the Progcast as well, which was nice, and getting to know them. But they are such a terrific band. They're so amazing, and I think they should be way bigger, even though they already have been picked up by a proper label. They deserve more widespread attention in the progressive and also death metal genre, in the more extreme metal circles.
Totally agree with you there, and also, like you say, such nice guys as well. You know, we also had the luck of having Vince from Fractal Universe on the Progtalks, just like you had him on the Progcast. And so that's someone that, you know, another interview that was very enjoyable to do. And, you know, so no objections. It's a fantastic album and deserves to be mentioned. Yeah.
So finally, let's get to some proper prog noodling. But this is very, very. We'll go back to Australia now to kind of maybe make the I don't know, make the circle whole.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And this band have put out their debut album, but they have immense success already, and rightfully so. It's The Omnific with Escapades, out on Wild Thing Records at the beginning of October. And I mean, it is some proper noodling, but it is a band with 2 bass players and a drummer, for fuck's sake. So this is just so much fun. I mean, there's been other noodly releases that I've enjoyed this year, including the new Liquid Tension Experiment, even. But they are not doing anything new. The Omnific are.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you know, my tolerance for noodling has been lower this year, but the Omnific is one of those bands where I thoroughly enjoyed the album, their previous EPs, and I think it's because they write such strong melodies that, you know, it's not all about the technical display of skills or whatever. It's such strong melodies. So yeah, another fantastic pick there that I could have picked as well when I think about it, but you know, that's how it thing goes.
Yeah, wonderful. Before we move on to the expectation, I have a little thing that I already announced to you previously, Rune, and you said you can't really think about anything right now. But I don't know. I had just had like a little side story here. I just had my sister over for the weekend visiting. We haven't seen each other in a long time, and I was showing her a couple of videos, and my sister is like almost exclusively into classical music. But there's the occasional prog stuff, of course, that she can digest as well and enjoy. And tying in with your emotional or atmospherically emotional records that you picked, Rune, there has been a couple of songs or moments even this year that were so out of this world for me that I just really want to give them a shout out. And they are all a little bit similar. They're similar in that they are kind of in the post rock or post metal realm, and most of them also feature some organ sounds. So the first one would be from France, Bruit, with the Machine is Burning. That video is one of the like that whole build up is just one of the most amazing musical moments of the year. And they have been picked up by Pelagic in the meantime, by Pelagic Records, and so deservedly. It's just this is one of the two music videos I would also recommend you to watch this year. Even if you don't watch music videos, watch this one, as well as the other one, Earthside, All We Knew and Ever Loved. There's more church organ going on there, but it doesn't get any more epic this year. And Earthside has provided me with this one song even twice, with a jaw-dropping discovery moment. Not only with their amazing animated video, but later they also put out the double drum playthrough with a special mix, where Ben, the drummer of Earthside, duels or battles with Bard Kolstad from Lepros, and that was equally jaw-dropping as the original thing. The final two, one was like very, very early in the year, or it seems like very far away now, when I was really, really enjoying the debut album from British heavy fusion trio Voronoi, and they play like a gent without guitars. And the last song on the album, Home Could Be Light Years Away, has like a similar a similar effect on me as The Machine is Burning and All We Knew and Never Loved. So I have to mention that as well. And finally, really finally now, the last concert I was able to see this year was an organ concert from Anna from Hauswolf from Sweden.
Yes.
And that was just pure magic. It is like a cacophony. It's like just sound, and it's so loud, and it's so many layers. And she's like 3 or 4 sound engineers working the effects and loop stuff, and you have the surround sound, and so tying in with the organ stuff on Bruit and Earthside. This was a pure organ moment, but it was live, and it was just exactly out of this world. So there you have it. Some out of this world experiences I had with music, some favorite musical moments of the year.
That's I don't really watch music videos. So when you sort of spoke about this, I was like, I don't really have anything to add to that. But, I'm just going to say, don't be like me. Watch music videos because there are good stuff going on there. And it's a lot of, interesting thing that adds to the music, So yeah. But if I'm going to mention one quick moment that came to mind just now, is like the first post-COVID show I got to see with the French lunatics of 633 promoting their new album, and having the band. I've seen them before once at Prog Power. Back then they were wearing masks, and they had the drummer was a drum machine, and it was a very cool experience then. But now a live drummer, no masks, because I think the vocalist Rorschach said it so well. Fuck masks, we're tired of that. So for at least on stage, I think they are more than willing to wear masks for health reasons. But this whole thing was a very enjoyable show. Increased enjoyment even more by being the first show I got to see in well over a year. So that was a nice moment.
Wonderful.
And
we also had Rorschach on the Progtalks.
Yes, we also did. You interviewed him.
Laurent Charlet. Yes.
Yeah. Then I guess we're drawing towards the end here, but I think we're quickly going to mention a couple things that we are looking forward to next year. Had a bit of a problem finding things. I have to say I haven't been paying so much attention to what's coming out, over New Year's. But Voivod is releasing a new album. For someone who's an old thrash and extreme metal fan, those Canadians never do anything wrong. So this is going to be interesting. Of course, also, I interviewed Jason Tipton of A Dying Planet on the Prog Talks earlier, and he mentioned to me that there will be a new 0 Hour album coming sometime in 2022, hopefully, which, of course, is something I'm looking very much forward to. I also believe he said that if you're a fan of The Towers of Avarice, which is probably my favorite album, you should really look forward to this new album of theirs. Yes. And then finally I want to go back to some of my fellow Norwegians. One of my favorite albums released on Apollon Records recently was Laughing Stock with their 0 Acts 1 and 2, and 2022 will bring us Acts 3 and 4. Once again, 3 lovely guys that I had on the Prog Talks, and I can't wait to have them back again once Act 3 and 4 release, to hear them detail the full story of 0. So that's sort of a few of the things that I'm hoping to be able to enjoy in 2022.
Yeah, as always, you manage to be very concise and precise with your picks. I mean, I sent you the list before, right? My list that and I realize I don't have 0 Hour on here, which is which is like unbelievable. So I just had to add them quickly. And there's just like January, February, March look pretty stacked already, I have to say. Starting on January 7th already with the new Wilderune or Wild Run album, Epigon. And there's gonna be just quickly looking and filtering some particularly interesting stuff out. Let's go to March. Of course, there's going to be bigger bands like Flower Kings or Marillion or Animals as Leaders putting albums out. Cult of Luna, Amorphis, Star One, Legion is all coming in February. Persephone, of course, also in February. Jethro Tull and Big Train in January. So a couple of more small releases, but they deserve as much as attention. Would be Reflummox from Flummox on February 2nd. That's the other band from Max Mowbray. You might know them from the fantastic Others by No One.
Yeah, also interviewed by us. Yeah.
Yes. And then we have in March Carcius from Canada, which is kind of the prog rock project from Heaven's Cry bass player Sylvain Auclair. But the new single for this album, Gray, White, Silver, Yellow, and Gold, that's the album name. But the first single that they released is pretty heavy. It's still not metal, but it sounded pretty heavy to me. And so I'm really looking forward to the new Carcius album. Prehistoric Animals, the Magical Mystery Machine, Chapter 2 is coming on March 25th. I think all of us here at the Prog Space are looking forward to that very, very much. I had the chance to listen to the new Playgrounded album already, The Death of Death, mentioned, coming in March. Greek band, mostly based in Amsterdam, in Holland now, in the Netherlands. Amazing album. Also from Soledad, the second album from France, 13, coming in March. I also had the opportunity to hear that already. There's a lot of bands that we know that are in the studio that have said that there's new stuff coming out.
New albums, yeah.
Like I have here a Norwegian trio from Rendezvous Point, Archetype, and Marathon.
Yes, yeah.
Of like top-notch up-and-coming bands.
A lot of people are going to be happy about those three bands releasing new music. Yeah.
You already mentioned Head with Wings. I think they have also a lot of things cooking.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Another talent from Down Under, Rohan Sharma, amazing keyboard player, will have a new EP out early in the year. There's going to be more big bands that have already announced that they're or either in the studio or working on the new album in other ways, like Threshold, Pain of Salvation, Tesseract, Ne Obliviscaris, and Voyager. I just already said that Earthside was one of my favorite moments this year. Let's hope the album will be ready next year. We had one of our headliners on the Prog Space Online Festival, Turbulence, was from Lebanon, and there's another amazing prog metal band from Lebanon called Ostura, and they are just running the crowdfunding for their upcoming next album until January 4th. The crowdfunding is going, so go check out Ostura. They're amazing, and they need our help. They need your help. They need the help of the fans too, because it's not easy to make an album under less fortunate circumstances. Like we here at, I would say, in our Western, warm houses.
Sort of bubble. Or sort of bubble of prosperity and wealth. You know, there are lots of things we don't think about that become challenges. So
okay. I keep looking at the list, and there's keep popping up things that I wanted to say. The Gathering from the Netherlands. The new single sounds absolutely stellar, very, very electronic but very moody and emotional. Flesh Vessel is an amazing avant-garde death metal band. Who are going to be back with a new album, Yearning Promethean Fate, sealed on I Voidhanger Records. Oddland from Finland has been one of my favorites for years. They are preparing to release their third album, Vermilion. And finally, my friends in Soul Splitter from Germany, their second album, Connection, is also hopefully is ready to be released. And by the time you listen to this episode, the first single will be out already, because the single will be out on December 17th. And this episode is going to drop on December 22nd. Now, that was a kind of quick run through most of the releases, projected releases for 2022 that I have.
What we know so far,
we know so far that I have there on my list. It's been a crazy year for music. It's been a hard year in some aspects as well. we don't know what the next year will bring in those aspects, but I'm pretty sure that it will bring more amazing music, right?
Yeah, I think we can conclude that 2021 was a fantastic year for new music being released, at least, even if, a lot of bands didn't manage to get out there and tour. I'm sure 2022 will be just as amazing when it comes to new releases. And let's hope it also going to be fantastic when it comes to bands getting out there, touring and playing live shows. Also, I'm going to let you wrap this up, Dario, at the end here, but I just wanted to mention quickly, for several reasons, I haven't been able to do so many interviews recently, but you have been fantastic at picking up that slack of mine and done so many great things. And I'm looking forward to doing more interviews and doing more stuff with you in 2022.
Oh, thank you so much, Rune. Yeah, likewise. It's always a pleasure working with you, either in front of the camera or behind it, preparing some of the stuff, or discussing which one, whom we should invite, exactly. And all that fun stuff. Yeah, it's been a wild ride this year. Usually at the end of our interviews, we always invite you guys to follow them on their social media and buy their stuff on Bandcamp or directly from them if possible. Of course, today we have talked about so many artists, but still we want to encourage you to keep supporting your favorite bands, and that's what also keeps the music and the scene alive. I don't think I have any more to say now. Apart from thank.
I think I want to mention that quickly. Since we're not plugging anyone else, let's plug ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
we have, as mentioned at the beginning, or buy us a coffee link. If you enjoy the prog space, we also have a shop where you can get some t-shirts, mugs, other stuff, shirts from our previous festivals, online festivals that we have been arranging. So, if you enjoy the work we're doing and, you want to give us a little boost, then head over there and have a look.
Absolutely. You will find all the links in the description as always. And tying in with that, we want to thank you for your support and for your for your faith in us and for sticking with us, for following us, for encouraging us to keep going with this passion project. We hope you'll stay with us in the next year. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of amazing things to come. We don't know yet as well. We will discuss that over the turn of the years, if you say it like that. But there's going to be more the prog space definitely next year. For now,
if there is something new happening in the prog world, we'll be there for you. That's for sure.
Yes, that's also a fun part of it. Just spreading the word, and that actually brings me to our final words, as Rune has coined the term. So once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your support. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, God Yule, season's greetings.
Yes.
Feliz Navidad. Have a great time, and see you next year in 2022. Until then, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and keep spreading that prog love.
Prog love, yes.
The Progtalks, produced by the Prog Space. This was the Prog Talks by the Prog Space.